Next, we're going to learn some signs about jobs that people have. So to start with, we're going to learn the sign for secretary. And lots of times secretaries will walk around with a pencil stuck in their ear. And so you're going to pretend to pull that pencil out and write on your tablet. Secretary. 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 The sign for lawyer is made using the sign for law plus person. So a lawyer is a law person. To make the sign for law, you need your L hand and a flat hand. Law, person. Lawyer, lawyer, lawyer. A very important person in our country is our president. So we're going to take our 2 5 hands and start up at our forehead and go out and close them. President. Sometimes you may see this sign made and they cross. President. Either sign is fine. President. 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 If you get sick, you hope there is a doctor nearby. So use your D hand because the word doctor begins with D, and put it on your wrist. When you go to the doctor's office, they often take your pulse and your temperature. So doctor is made with a D on the wrist, as if they're checking your pulse. If you didn't know, you can feel your heartbeat in your wrist. That's kind of cool. Doctor. 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 Sign for nurse is just the same as doctor, only nurse starts with an N. So make your N hand. Remember, your N is your 2 fingers over your thumb, and put that on your wrist. Nurse. 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 In our last lesson, we learned the sign for art. So we had our easel, and our pinky was our brush or our pencil, whatever we're making our art with. Art plus person is artist. 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 A lot of us love watching TV and movies, and we have our favorite actors and actresses. So I want to teach you the sign for actor, but first I need to teach you the sign for act. So you need your A hands, and they're going to roll backwards over your heart. Act plus person equals actor. 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 We also learned the sign for sing and song and music. Well, the people that do those things are singers or musicians. So to make that sign, you add singer, music, plus person. Singer, musician. Singer, musician. I know you already learned the sign for dance, and the person we're going to learn is dancer. So make the sign for dance plus the sign for person. Dancer, dancer, dancer. The sign for police officer is made with the C hand over your heart. Like his badge. Policemen wear their badge over their heart. This is policeman or policewoman. Policeman. Policewoman. Policeman. Policewoman. The mailman is also sometimes called the postal carrier, because when you mail letters, you can also say I'm posting a letter. Not very many people say that anymore. It's kind of an old term. But the sign for postal carrier or mailman or mailwoman or mail person is to make the sign for letter and then person. So when you mail a letter, it has to have a stamp on it. So we're going to use our thumb and pretend to lick the stamp and stick it on the letter. Letter, person. So when you put those two signs together, it becomes mailman, mailman, or postal carrier. A lot of little boys want to be a firefighter when they grow up, and I actually knew a firefighter when I was growing up. Very exciting job, very dangerous. Firefighters often wear those hats that have the flat front on it. If you buy a firefighter costume, it'll come with a red hat that has a flat front. The flat front of this hat is what makes the sign. So make your B hand and put it on your forehead. Fireman, firefighter, fireman. Being a pilot is another exciting job that many young children think they want to do when they grow up. And some actually do. To make the sign for pilot, you need the sign for airplane. So we're going to use that I love you hand again. Turn it like this and it becomes your airplane. Okay? So airplane plus person means pilot. 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 Another wonderful profession is to be a scientist. To make the sign for science, you need your A hands, and these are going to be pouring liquids into beakers to be put on the Bunsen burner and make an explosion. That's the exciting part of science. So the sign for science is science. And if you want it to be scientist, you add person. Scientist. 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 Another profession that you've probably watched a show on TV about is that of a chef or a cook. So first you need to know the sign for cook, and that is to pretend to flip food back and forth. Cook. So if you do the sign for cook and add person, you now have the sign for chef. 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 The next sign is one that you learned several weeks ago when we were learning the sign for fish, and my daughter showed you a clownfish. So do you remember the sign for clown? You pretend to make that big red nose that clowns wear. Clown. 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 Often where you see clowns, you might also see a magician. To make the sign for magician, you need to know the sign for magic. So the sign for magic, put your hands out, pull them back and throw them forward, like you're going poof or alakazam. Okay, that's the sign for magic. To that, add the sign for person, and you have magician. 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 Another wonderful job that you could have is to be a librarian. Work at the library and help people check out books and learn how to use the internet and to educate themselves to help them become smarter. To make the sign for librarian, you need to know the sign for library, which is an L in a circle. Library, and then you add person to it. Librarian. Library. Librarian. Librarian. Many of us have pets that we love very much. And when our pets get sick, where do we take them? We take them to the pet doctor, right? And the pet doctor is called a veterinarian. That's a really long word. So we're going to just spell the first three letters. V-E-T. And a lot of times when you say, I'm going to take my animal to the doctor, you say, I'm going to take my animal to the vet. Right? We don't say veterinarian. That's a very long word. We just say the vet. So the sign for veterinarian is vet. Just spell it. V-E-T. Vet. V-E-T. Vet. V-E-T. Another job that I'm very appreciative of when I go to a restaurant is having a good waiter or a good server. So a waiter and waitresses is actually someone who serves you your food and drinks. To know how to sign waiter or waitress, you need to know the sign for serve. So they usually come out with a tray, so put your hands down for tray, and then they're going to move the food onto your table and off of your table. So take those two hands and move them back and forth. This is a sign for serve. Serve. Now we're going to add person, and that would make the sign for waiter or waitress. Waiter, waitress. Another profession that many children want to be when they grow up is a soldier. To make the sign for soldier, you need your A hands, and you're going to put them right here as if you're holding your rifle or your gun. Soldier. 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 Next is the sign for interpreter. An interpreter is someone who translates one language to another. So I have worked as an interpreter for the deaf and hard of hearing. So I look at their signs, read their signs, and interpret them for the hearing person. And then I listen to the hearing person talk and interpret in sign language for the deaf person. This happens anytime people are trying to communicate one language to another. To sign interpreter, you need the sign for interpret. And to make that, you need your F hands. Remember, they're the OK sign. And you're going to put them together and twist them. This is a sign for interpret. Interpret. So now if we add the person sign to it, we have interpreter. 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 And a job that you get to see in action every day of school is your teacher. So let's learn the sign for teacher. And the first part of the word teacher is teach. So make, I'm not sure what to call these hands. You're going to make your flat hand and then close it, kind of like we made the duck sign. And then you're going to turn them sideways. Put them up to your temples by your head. It's like the teacher is taking knowledge from her brain and giving it to you. Teach. 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 So add the person sign and you can make this sign teacher. 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 I hope you've enjoyed learning all the signs today about jobs that you could have when you grow up. And I love being your teacher. See you next time.